Hey everybody, welcome back to the Wednesday show. It's been quite some time since we've done one of these random broadcasts. Of course, we had a couple of travel weeks to and from Las Vegas, and then last Wednesday we did our live stream. So it's been a full 28 days since you've got to see one of these random sorts of ramblings by me. If you're just stumbling onto to the channel, on Wednesday, we just talk about whatever enters our mind. Usually on Saturday, we kind of keep it to a little bit more focused Vegas topic. But we are going to talk about Vegas today because I feel like it. I feel like it. That's what we do. And talk a little bit about Vegas history. But I got to thinking over the past few days kind of about some of the individuals that have had such an impact on Las Vegas over the years. And nowadays, Vegas is very corporate. It's all Caesars or MGM. You've got a few outlying properties, but it just seems like the entire core of the strip, from the north end to the south end, is almost nothing but two huge corporate entities. And it got me to thinking about the fact that so many hotels and casinos in Las Vegas are really very closely associated to individuals. Those hotels were very much an expression of their vision and their idea about what Vegas should be. And of course, you talk about the Strip, and you've got all sorts of characters. And each and every one of these people that I'm going to mention, there's probably a book about them. If you're interested in characters, in people who have done something remarkable and have created something, in many cases out of thin air, that we continue to enjoy to this day, then definitely check out some of these folks. I think about a guy like Bob Stupak. A lot of people may not recognize that name. He's just kind of a hustler. And little by little, he created what was at the time was Vegas World. And there was all kinds of shady sorts of promotions that he did there. But obviously, at some point, he got enough capital that he created this monument to, which essentially is going to be there for a long time. That's the Stratosphere Tower, or whatever you want to call the Sky Pod nowadays, whatever that is. But certainly, Stupak left a major imprint on Las Vegas. You think about a guy like Kirkorian. I don't know that his vision was all that interesting, but I guess his vision was to build the largest hotel in Las Vegas, because he did it 3 times. The old International were famous for the Elvis appearances that later became the Las Vegas Hilton, and we know it today as the Westgate. And then the first MGM Grand, we talked about that not too long ago, which of course is now Bally's. And then the second MGM Grand. Every one of those was, at the time that it was built, the largest hotel in the world. So clearly that was kind of a big thing for Kirk. But again, I don't see a lot of influence in terms of, it was just big. It didn't really have a great vision associated with it that I could tell anyway. You think about a guy like Jay Sarno, and I know there very recently, a guy by the name of Dr. David Schwartz, I believe is his name. He's a professor at UNLV. Within the last year or two, wrote a book about Jay Sarno, which I have not read, but which sounds very interesting. I'm guessing it's probably available through the UNLV Press if you want to check that out. He's written a number of things about Las Vegas over the years, but Jay Sarno was quite a character. He was the sort of mind behind both Circus Circus and Caesar's Palace. And we often think about, the 90s as being sort of the era of the themed hotel properties, but those properties were 20, 25 years ahead of their time, and they remain really 2 of the most themed properties in Las Vegas. So clearly Jay Sarno, who was a very interesting character, let's just put it that way, left his personal imprint on Las Vegas. You think about a guy like Sheldon Adelstein, who just recently passed. Clearly the Venetian and Palazzo, very much a sort of monument to his vision of something he wanted to create in Las Vegas. There are sort of smaller characters you think of along the way. A guy like Phil Ruffin, who owned the Frontier for many years and now owns Treasure Island and Circus Circus. But I don't know that he has a vision either, unless it's just to kind of make as much money off of property as cheaply as possible. Guy like Bill Bennett, who was associated with the Sahara and then also with the Circus Circus enterprises over the years. And, obviously another big character there. And sort of the big name, I guess, the sort of genie in the bottle, obviously, is Steve Wynn. When you talk about Mirage, Treasure Island, Bellagio, Wynn, and Encore, obviously Steve kind of left the business in disgrace, but you can't argue that his idea about what Las Vegas should be and his vision was not a huge part of what we see today. But I think it's even more evident downtown and continues to be evident downtown in terms of individuals that have made an impact. And I think about this because we were just in Vegas a couple of weeks ago and at Circa, and we saw Derek Stevens. And Derek Stevens didn't build the Golden Gate, but he made it what it is today. He didn't build the D, but he made it what it is today. And of course, he did build Circa. And it is a rare night that you can't find him hanging out at a bar at one of those properties. And he's very approachable normally. I mean, when we were there at Circa, he had an entourage around him. But generally, he's very approachable. You can go up to him and say hello. And you just don't see that kind of personal imprint very many places. Off strip, obviously I mentioned Ellis Island recently. Christina Ellis, literally came down and talked to us about some of what we were doing there at her property. So that was pretty cool. But that's very unusual, but it's much less peculiar, and it went on much longer in the downtown area. You talk about Sam Boyd, who gave his name to what was, until very recently, the sort of big stadium in Las Vegas. His first property was the Cal downtown. And then later he was able to acquire, kind of in a gangster fire sale, both the Fremont and the Stardust, acquired what a failed property in Main Street Station, and definitely left his imprint in the downtown area. And his son Bill has continued that. You think about the Plaza, the old Las Vegas Club, the old Western, El Cortez, Gold Spike, all of those associated with the venerable Jackie Gowen, who I always like to remind people hails from my home state of Nebraska. But again, he left a very personal imprint on a lot of those properties until very recently connected to El Cortez before he passed. But even Steve Wynn had a big influence on downtown. He took Golden Nugget, which had been there for 40, 50 years, but was kind of not that big a deal. There was no hotel there. So the hotel towers all date to his early vision of making that property something bigger and better. And he turned it essentially into a property that was, for a generation, clearly the best property downtown. There's a few properties. I mean, and of course, you talk about someone like Benny Binion and his impact, to some degree, I guess, continues on through the Binion's Hotel and Casino. But, he made the place, carpeted the place, he started, handing out free drinks to customers, sort of raised table limits. He was a big part of creating the Vegas we know today. And yeah, there's some properties like Downtown Grand, Four Queens, I guess. Some of those, I don't really associate those with particular individuals. But there does seem to be a closer association between the downtown properties and individual people with an individual vision. And I think maybe that's why downtown has sustained itself better as a sort of player-friendly environment. And obviously that's starting to change too, but I think it's that sort of personal connection, the fact that there were individuals with a vision who had an idea and who wanted to create something that the customer would enjoy and would benefit from as well as himself. So anyway, that's my thoughts on some of the historical characters of Las Vegas. Again, Google those folks. There's books written about all of them, and most all of them are interesting characters. We'll be back next Wednesday with another Wednesday show. We'll be back on Saturday with Vegas Weekly. Until then, I hope you have a great, lucky, and healthy week. We'll see you soon.